Welcome back to the Real Couchwives Podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo. This week we are talking about Vanderpump Rules Season 11, Part 3 of the reunion, and it's our 80th episode!
80 whole episodes! Thank you so much to all of the Couchies out there, whether you are just joining us or you've been here since the inception of the Real Couchwives. We are so happy to be on this journey with you, even though, this season of VPR was a little bit of a more difficult one, but, we're getting through it.
We made it, guys. We did it.
We made it. So I'm not going to lie, the last 30 minutes of part 3 of the VPR reunion was compelling television, but it was super hard to watch for a lot of reasons. We saw Ariana in real time find out that Lala and Scheana are not her friends, have been playing her like a fiddle this entire reunion. We got a forced Tom Sandoval apology against our will, and Lala basically just self-implodes in real time and has quite a big temper tantrum. So we have a lot of feelings. We're going to work through it together. So Iris, how are you feeling now that we've seen part 3 of the reunion? I think Lala's going to be a little bit confused that us as the audience are still waiting for the moment her and Scheana have been telling us we would understand where they're coming from. I have gone the opposite direction.
Yes, I have unfortunately gone the opposite direction as well. And I think I've actually left this reunion feeling more frustrated about Lala than I actually feel about Tom, which I feel like is probably playing into exactly what production wanted, frankly.
Yeah, they definitely were like, oh my god, look over there, look at Lala. So Tom Sandoval barely spoke this reunion. Yeah. Lala actually spoke 80% of the reunion as well.
90% of the reunion. Yeah. It was mainly just Lala's reunion at this point.
It was Lala's reunion, just talking in circles, and her ability to continue to bring it back to herself and start crying when basically she wasn't getting a rise out of Ariana was just so confusing. This whole thing was confusing and frustrating, and
yeah, totally. And the fact that it felt like she had to go after every single person. She was like, you're not being honest, and you're not being honest, and you said this thing to me 3 years ago, so let's not forget about that. And she was just on the war-path this episode.
It's so true. But remember, she's in her soft era. This is her soft era. And Katie's on the warpath.
I know. Well, and even in Secrets Revealed, it's so crazy. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but at the very end, they ask all of the cast members about what do you feel like you learned this season? And Lala's like, well, I learned that I don't have to just have my ride or dies or my enemies. I can have people in the gray zone. And I was just like, where is the gray zone? Who are the people currently in your gray zone? Maybe
everyone.
Tom and Tom, but you very clearly are still making a lot of enemies in this situation.
It's so true. And speaking about pulling random things up, well, Katie has actually said that the things that she spoke about last episode, or the first episode with Katie, and the DMs that they had, those were 3 different incidents that were spread out over a year and a half that she conveniently picked out now.
It did feel like that was what was happening. The timeline of this just made absolutely no sense, because some of it sounded like it was recently, right before Chicago. We didn't even know about Chicago when they would have been filming last year, so how could Katie have been annoyed about Chicago last summer when that wasn't even a thing? It was still Dancing with the Stars back then. Come on.
It was
Get your story straight.
And then the other one too from last episode actually is when she randomly brought up that Ariana didn't back her when Charlie was saying mean things about her the season before. And Ariana so brilliantly was like, we talked about this already, and it was actually filmed, but it didn't air. And then Lala's like, well, it didn't air, so we're gonna hash it out right now. And she's like, so it didn't air, so it didn't happen?
Yeah.
That's such
the rules
a key
according
thing.
To Lala.
I do really think this is insight into her psyche. It's very similar to Tom Sandoval and what we're talking about with the New York Times article. The show is their life. I really feel if it didn't happen on the show, if people aren't brought in on it, in Lala's mind, it didn't happen.
Yeah. And there's and just the fact that you can't I don't know, you can't make a little comment to her, you can't say one thing to her. Even the way that Lala was betraying kind of Scheana a little bit towards the end, she's just I want to try to have a little compassion for her, but at the same time it's just the way that you're treating like your friends, like with friends like these, who needs enemies? Come on.
This is it. She makes it
So
really hard
ridiculous.
to feel sorry for her. And I think a lot of people have said too, like, clearly a lot of her resentment is stemming from, like, she keeps comparing the situation between Ariana and Tom and how Ariana's been received by the friend group and by the fans, like, really compassionately and with empathy to her and Randall, whereas she,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she says that basically everyone just questioned her, like, oh, you shoved this guy down our throats. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you didn't know?
Mm-hmm.
These are not the same situations, and her continuing to try to make them the same situation and basically be so mean to Ariana because she's not getting the same type of response just makes no sense. Like,
Yeah.
do we need to go back and roll the tapes? You never were honest about your situation with Randall. You
Mm-hmm.
made a lot of comments about like BJ's for PJs. Like, it's just like it's different. Like, there was a
Yeah.
lot of context. Her situation sucks. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone feels sorry for the situation that she's in, and I feel like she
Yeah.
keeps conflating these things and making it seem like we don't care, but she also
Mm-hmm.
can't talk about it on the show. And
Yeah.
she, like, I don't know, it's just like, it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Well, and I think that that kind of gets to the crux of the issue, right? Like, Lala has these things in her life that she can't talk about. I think that's something that the audience has been very, quick to pull out. And then we have Lala, at this reunion saying, you guys aren't being honest. Every single person here is a liar. They're not telling the truth. I'm the only person telling the truth. I'm the only person living authentically. And then is calling out Ariana for not living authentically and not showing her real life and not being honest and having hidden her relationship with Tom Sandoval away for all these years. And like that is the thing that is kind of like bringing down Vanderpump Rules right now. Like, it's us kind of like reacting to Lala and like the way that she's behaving. And actually, I think Nick Vial came up with a good point this week. He was basically saying that like it's the self-fulfilling prophecy of Lala is so concerned about like how this is all going to play out this season, that it actually has played out horribly, and it's actually brought about the downfall of this season because she's created this situation in which they do have a terrible season because we've watched her all season behave this way.
I know. That's
So
the craziest
ridiculous.
part, is like, she is her own Achilles heel. Like, she
Yeah.
is giving Ariana so much heat that she's bringing nothing to the show, and that
Yeah.
she even says, if you don't give an F about your position in the show, then I hope that you'll give one about mine.
Yeah.
Saying that like she's basically ruining the show, when literally like everything Lala's doing, the self-producing, you're the one ruining the show.
Yeah.
It is not Ariana, and it's just like so hypocritical.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we
It
unpack
is.
the last like kind of 30 minutes that happens?
Yeah,
Because
let's
it's
try.
so crazy. We'll try
Let's
a
get
little
into
bit.
it.
So the last 30 minutes, we finally have the cast seeing the ending of VPR, right?
Yeah.
Where
the end of the season.
Yeah, Scheana basically turns on Ariana. Lala has her whole I've never seen someone get cheated on and then become God. And then we see Sandoval with the haha, it's good for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, Sheena's face during this. Okay, I really think that Scheana and Lala both, like, they saw the show, they were sent the tapes, they're like, oh, the last part's not in it. We're good.
Yeah.
Ariana's never gonna know.
Yeah. And then they found out that Ariana hadn't watched the season, and they were like, oh, amazing. This is going to work out perfectly.
We can do whatever we want. Although it's like, yeah, once she goes back and sees the show, she is going to see all those things, even if that part's on it. But Sheena's face was pure, just like, shit, like terror.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my God.
I don't know what Lala's was doing, because she later says she has no remorse. So clearly it wasn't fear or regret. I don't.
I stand by everything I said.
Oh gosh. So it kind of opens us up to the Sandoval and Ariana conversation that they were all so just like desperate to get.
Had to have.
Something.
It was the one thing that was missing from this entire season.
Also, okay, I'm sorry, Lala, if Ariana brings nothing to the show, why are you, quote, crying every night because Ariana won't have a conversation with Tom Sandoval on camera and is ruining the show if she brings nothing to the show and is not necessary and is so boring?
Yeah, exactly. If she's so pivotal to the show and the success of this show, like, how is it possible that she's such an important player in all of this.
Yeah, like you can't be saying both at the same time.
You can't be stupid and smart at the same
time. That's such a good quote.
I love that. I think about that often.
But Ariana's like, I'm not here for his waterworks. And like, see, like, you did exactly what I said. You proved me right. And I think what was so great too is that they finally get this moment that they were pushing Ariana to have. And I think here, and also in the conversations with Lala, Ariana is just so poised, so graceful, shows raw emotion so that she brings the audience in on the journey, but she's still really put together and articulate. And I don't think anyone expected that. And in that, she destroys everyone.
Yeah, I know. She does. She really is so talented at this. I wish I could do that. I could be like that.
This is what growth looks like. Like, she has clearly put in the work. Sandoval's like still spinning his wheels with the same old narrative, and literally, so is Lala.
Well, and even with Ariana's ability to kind of like call out like, hey, okay, that moment when he came over to you guys in the group, that's called triangulation, and like that's what this is, and like that's what he's trying to do here. Like she really has, like, she's grown, she's grasped so much kind of like of this information. And she is, I think that she is still interesting enough to watch, and like interesting enough to kind of like bring things to the table. Like, I definitely don't think that she's contributed to the way that this season has gone down. And just the fact that they're like going after her so harsh, as if she is the reason that this season didn't work, is so crazy to me.
It's like, why don't we point the finger at Sandoval, who put you all in this scenario? It's just like,
exactly.
What's even crazier too, and I haven't seen the Summer House finale yet, but I've seen a couple like snippets of it, of they're just showing all the girls kind of rallying around Lindsay when these people were not even her friends and didn't like her for a really long time, but they still can pull it together enough to rally around her when like Ariana's actual friends are just throwing her under the bus. It's just like so crazy.
Yeah, that's just it. And for what, right? For what? For this guy that like you see like every 3 months that you film, like, come on. Like,
I'm actually really surprised that a lot of them aren't backpedaling after, now that it's been like enough time and we've seen everything Sandoval's done still. And Scheana and Lala have actually both come out too and been like, yeah, we're not actually friends with Tom Sandoval because like he hasn't backed any of the words that he said. And it's like, but you're still going so strong for this dude. Like I'm surprised none of them came out and were like, I feel dumb.
And that's just it. Like, I think that like if they had done that, like I think that we could be receptive to it as an audience, right? Like, we are fully prepared for people to kind of like change their minds, you know, grow, evolve, whatever. Like, we're fine with that happening. But we just can't understand this like doubling down that like has continued to happen over the course of the season, particularly by Lala, but I think also by Scheana a little bit too, right?
Yeah, Scheana just tries to flip-flop her way out of it after in real time, which we saw in this episode pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's basically what we get. We get Ariana just kind of like staying strong and being like, this is who you are. Like, you show me who you are. And then Sandoval's like, you know me well enough to know that these are real tears. And she's like, ugh, I don't. It's like, I'm sorry, sir. Yeah. Did you forget that you lied to her for 8 months? You cannot possibly say you know me well enough.
Yeah. That, and also like, okay, so we finally get it, right? We finally get the tearful apology from Tom Sandoval, and like, I hope that production is watching and now understands, yeah, that didn't work. Nobody wanted to see that. Nobody's interested in that. Like, nobody believed that. Like, we're a little bit smarter than that, I'm sorry to say. I
did really like that Ariana's like, he wants his crying in Miami moment with Kristen. Yes. I didn't even think about that.
She's genius.
She's genius.
She's low-key genius.
And she knew this was the arc she was walking into. Yeah. Now I guess it makes more sense that she knew that's what was going to happen, because the rest of the cast was not subtle about it.
No, not even a little bit.
But yeah, it's like, and even on the podcast that she went on, Katie's podcast, Disrespectfully, they talked about it for a good like 5 minutes.
Yeah, which, not nearly enough.
Not enough, but it's also just so funny when you look at Scheana and Lala's podcast that have literally, they're only about Vanderpump Rules. It's all that they have to talk about.
Yeah, 100%.
But she's like, well, you did it. You made me cry. I cried. Are you
Yeah.
happy? Like,
Yeah. Was that everything you had hoped it would be? Like, did you get the shot, Lala? Are you happy? Are you
yeah.
pleased?
Did you?
Can I be absolved of any crime that you think that I've committed at this point? Like, be pardoned?
And then we go to Lala, and then
Yeah.
Andy's like, "How do you feel about things Lala said?" And Ariana's like, "It was really hurtful." And like, honestly, it was quite heartbreaking to see
Yeah.
Ariana have to see all of these things and then put
Yeah.
herself together enough to come to respond to it.
That's just it. And the fact that like she is kind of like she's almost like fighting a war with like two of these people, right? Like you go into this the taping of the reunion thinking that like Tom Sandoval, I can't say words. Tom Sandoval is like my main enemy. That's the one person that's gonna like I'm gonna have a problem with today. I'm gonna have to like talk to. I'm gonna have to deal with. The last person that I want to speak to is my ex boyfriend. And then it's like, oh no, 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 waiting in the wings is Lala Kent, like just waiting to get at you because she's so upset, she's so annoyed. And this fight between Lala and Ariana actually ended up being much bigger of a deal than the one between Sandoval and Ariana.
But I feel like Lala was fighting with herself. Like, I just like,
yeah, but she's giving Ariana like a hard time, right? Like,
yeah,
she will not let her rest. She will make sure that she knows every bad thing that anybody potentially has ever said about Ariana, behind her back, right? Like the paranoia that it would build up in somebody to hear that your best friend that you're opening a sandwich shop with, and your best friend who you consider to be like a family member, are saying all these things behind your back, and now you know because Lala has confirmed to you that that is actually something that is happening.
dude, that's so true. Why do I feel like this whole season they've just been trying to put more and more trauma onto Ariana? Like, literally already she's having to deal with being cheated on, and now she has to deal with being betrayed by two of her friends.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
And then for Lala to then like be like, and you're the reason this season is failing. You're the problem.
But like literally point blank, like she literally told her that.
You're the reason.
Lala really thumbs up apparently. Lala really really broke the fourth wall in this in this reunion.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it was the jaw drop moments that she thought that it was, because we've talked about this before. Like, we enjoy a good fourth wall breaking moment when it's useful,
when it's a real fourth wall breaking.
When it's real. But like, yeah, to your point you made last time, she was like, I am breaking the fourth wall, it is coming, everyone stand by. But hers was more telling us just how much she kind of puts the show above reality. Like, I feel like her breaking the fourth wall actually just like broke the mask that she was putting on, that like this is a paycheck for her. She is going to do whatever she needs to do to keep this story moving, even if it's not real, which Ariana was like, I was my authentic self. I could have played it up for the cameras, but that would not have been as compelling. Exactly. And it's like, what are you going to say to that, Lala? Oh, nothing. Self-combust.
Even in Lala's kind of like walk-off moment, like that felt very manufactured. It was like, oh, I love when Ramona, gets up from the reunion in New York. Like, let me go do that myself. That's going to be a fun thing for me to get to do. I'll do a little walk-off for a second because I'm just so frustrated. It's just so performative, and that's, I think, a key part of kind of what we're seeing from this season overall as well, is that we're kind of like feeling like it's performed, it's performative, maybe it's not scripted, but it's certainly manipulated. And Ariana and Katie kind of like seem to be the two people, maybe James in there a little bit. I think Schwartz is along for the ride, but I think that he's still quite authentically being himself.
I don't think Schwartz is like capable of trying to like play something up or
well, and that's just, I think, the way that he like so horrendously handled the whole Joe situation. Like, I think that if he could have fixed that in editing at all, he probably would have. True. I don't think that was something that he was capable of doing.
Why was the Joe segment as long as Allie's? Like, why did we spend so long on Joe?
Why did Kyle Chan get to come out at the end? Like, there's just so many questions I have about this reunion.
And it's just so rich for Lala, because like she's literally going in, like she's having this tantrum because everyone else is fake, but like it's really just showing how fake she is. Even at the end when she's like, I want you guys to be real, when she kept saying, I love Ariana, I love Katie, but
Yeah.
I'm frustrated. And then at the end, she's like, I don't even talk to Ariana, and like, I don't give an F about Katie.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. Well, and even her comments about how, like, because I think at the very end Andy's like, oh, like, how do we all go forward from here, because I guess Lala and Katie and Ariana's relationships are in the ER, and Lala's like, whatever,
She's like, I'm
I
okay with that.
yeah. Which is like, so again, you know, speaks to how do we move forward from here? Like, how do we have a season 12 where, like, some of the core members of the friend group, like, won't even talk to each other? And this is the problem that we thought that we were going to have this season, because we thought that nobody was going to film with Tom Sandoval. We were like, wow,
Yeah.
that's what this is going to look like. And now I really don't know how we move forward from here, because none of these people are friends.
But beyond that too, even I feel like another consequence of kind of like them playing up and Lala playing producer and then pushing the Sandoval storyline is I think
Yeah.
they've really messed with the authenticity of the show, and I don't
Mm.
know how they win back our trust
Yes.
in like believing that these are real scenarios.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, I think we definitely have walked away from this feeling like it is too manipulated by production. Production is going into it with too much of a vested interest in, like, certain storylines kind of playing out. Even the fact that, like, some of the things that happened in the Secrets Revealed, like, didn't get aired was pretty shocking to me. There
I
was
wasn't able to watch it yet.
Yeah, so I think the key scenes that I, like, noticed I thought were interesting were, we do have, like, a confirmation of like, what exactly Tom Sandoval was offering Ariana for the house, which, like, if we had seen that, like, at the beginning of the season, like, half of the conversations I feel like we would have had, we would not have had, because it was just like, so he was offering her $600,000, basically kind of like essentially to, like, buy her out of her portion of their loan on the house, or their mortgage on the house. But it kind of sounded like he didn't want to refinance, so she would still have her name on the house, but she would just be, like, moving on with her
Okay.
$600,000. Because if they refinanced, they would go from paying a $10,000 a month mortgage to a $20,000 a month mortgage.
Oh my
Which,
gosh.
yeah, and, like, just the fact that, like, you know, there was this whole storyline of, we can't have, like, Ariana still living at that house. Like, why is she still living at that house? Like, why hasn't she moved out yet? How upset could she be about this relationship if she's still living there? When, like, it's just like, he was portraying it as if, like, he had offered to buy her out for top market value and, like, way and above, and
Ah,
$3.1 million, and, like, all this stuff, and,
that's
like,
so
he did
frustrating.
all this, like, actual, like, weird math to, like, get him to that $3.1 million. I think it just creates a very different narrative, and I think if production had been a lot less involved in, like, choosing that, like, it is going to be a Tom Sandoval story arc, and they had literally just presented us with the facts, like, I think it would have been a more compelling season. We would have had more conversations about, well, I don't know, maybe I am on Tom Sandoval's side with this, or maybe I am on Ariana's side. There could have been more of
Right.
that, like, give and take, but it was supposed to be like, no, you guys all like Tom Sandoval now. You
Yeah.
like him, okay? Everybody likes Tom Sandoval.
It's so true.
uh,
It's so true. They definitely were able to pick and choose the scenes that they did. But it's just so
yeah,
funny because like even with them trying and doing everything they could to give this man a redemption arc, they
yeah,
just couldn't do it, as we've talked about before,
yeah.
because it can't be done. And also you can't make Ariana look bad. Look at this
No.
reunion. Look at the way she presented herself. Even LVP is like, you know what? You can't say that she didn't show
Never
up. She showed
mind.
up.
Yeah.
And she also backpedaled all the way back.
Yeah. That was impressive, honestly. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here, LVP.
And then, of course, Lala is furious that LVP freaking backs Ariana one
Yeah.
time in the
Yeah.
whole season.
The whole season. Well, that's just it. And I do think that that kind of, like, speaks to, like, the fact that, like, Lala probably was, we've already talked about how her and Scheana very much kind of like were giving off the vibes that they were like spoon fed by production, like this is the direction, get in line, this is where we're going, this is what you have to do. And they were like, okay, those are the marching orders, we're gonna do it, we're gonna become best friends with Tom Sandoval, we're happy to oblige, we'll go after Ariana. But yeah, like there's this whole kind of like, you know, Lisa's impact on that, the fact that she's probably like feeding information to Lala or getting information fed to her from Lala. I think there's a little bit of that, and like I think in Lala getting kind of like set up almost by production and by Andy and by Lisa. Like I think that there's also something that we're seeing happen here in this final part of the reunion. Like I don't know. I feel like that was like such a big thing. I don't know if it's too much, but do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I mean, I do. It kind of makes me wonder if like Lala's so mad because they were all like, yeah, we're agreeing, we're going on this.
Yes. Yeah.
And now everyone else kind of backed out. And that's why she keeps... That actually makes some of what she's saying make more sense. Her right? being like, I'm having conversations by myself and like, you guys have all told me stuff about Ariana and you won't say it on camera. And we're all just like, why do you care if they say these things on camera? And also like, especially if they were in the past, like, why do you keep trying to force these fake scenarios? I mean, I'm not condoning it. I still think it's awful the way that she came at Ariana, especially, you know, you've been put through hell by a man. Like, I don't understand why she went the path she did to insult her. And you know, as Ariana said, like, I can understand your frustrations, I don't understand the insults, when she should have rallied around her. But like, maybe it is because they all had this pact and that's like the one part of the fourth wall that she can't fully break.
There you go. Exactly. That's it. She can't say, I have Andy Cohen telling me this is my best season ever. And Andy Cohen being like, I'm the voice of reason to this season. Like I am the golden child. I have shown up and I have done the work and I need to be rewarded now.
Oh my gosh, maybe that's what she was trying to say when she kept, because honestly her stomp offs and all of these things, like, they made no sense. Like, basically anytime someone would disagree with her, like Andy asked, like, Scheana, do you feel that Sandoval was like a better friend to Ariana? And she's like, no, not really. And Lala's like, you told me that all the time. I'm done with this. No one's being truthful. I'm the only one who's truthful. Also her being like, I want to live my real life now. I didn't understand that either.
But that's just it. It's like, well, you can nobody's saying that you can't do that.
We thought this was your real life.
Like, okay. Well, and even like she goes after Katie at one point because they're talking about how Ariana, and because Lala makes the allegation that Ariana and Tom Sandoval have never like shown their true version of their life on camera or whatever, and Katie says, well, yeah, even Tom Sandoval has said that. And then Lala turns to her and she's like, but even you said that. And then and I'm like, she's like, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that he said that. Like, I didn't say that I didn't say it. I'm saying that he said it. Like,
and then when Katie talks back at her, she's like, don't raise your voice at me.
I clocked that too.
And then I like that they did call her out. Katie is like, you've been talking a lot and you've been talking loud at me, so I'm going to talk louder. And Ariana also at one point was like, yeah, I know. Like, they were going back and forth again about the Charlie thing earlier. And Ariana's like, yeah, I know, you talk louder than everyone, so you're right. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's how it works.
How did we get here? Like,
I know. And that's the problem too. I think that there's just like, there was too much Lala at this reunion. Like, there's no balance to the group anymore, right? Like, it felt like there used to be like the way that Stassi, the way that Kristen, the way that Jax, like all these other people would be kind of like participating in the yelling. And like, even like last year, if we think back to that reunion, because it's the same cast of characters, like we had Lala and James yelling at certain points, we had Ariana yelling at certain points, like we probably had Tom Sandoval yelling at different points, but even then, like, he got pretty much a free pass last year too. But there was at least a little bit more dynamics to that, right? Like, this year there was no dynamic. It was just all full Lala yelling the entire time.
And that's not what good TV is. Like, I do truly think that she thinks these explosive moments are like what makes a good show, but it doesn't have to be that. Like, the way that Ariana was conducting herself, like that is compelling. Even like actually there's one part especially where Lala had her really confusing thing that she said like, I'm sorry I hurt you when I said that whole like you think you're Beyonce, but she's like, I was so frustrated and I was so livid for days and Scheana saw me cry. First of all, like, why? As we said before, like, well, I feel like
is it like as if we won't believe that you were crying unless we know that you had a witness? Like,
but
what?
also like, why were you crying? I don't understand. She says like she never got to dictate the show. Anyways, there's so much confusion.
It's just so insane because like there's so many like clips online now of people being like, well, here's Lala being a hypocrite number 1 and here's Lala being a hypocrite number 2.
There's too many to count. Like,
you've dictated for many years your terms and conditions of being on this show. Like,
you threatened to sue people who talked about Randall. Like, how is that not dictating? And also the fact that, especially when you saw it in the preview, I was like, is this real? When she was literally crying and she's like, Ariana got to dictate and I never got to dictate. And you're like,
what? Also, I feel like she loved like throwing around her weight the way that she could when she was with Randall. Like, I feel like that like gave her like, if it felt like it was like a status symbol, it felt like it was something where she like had that ability to kind of like, you know, stick up to people and like kind of, you know what I'm saying? And like I think that there were things about that relationship that she did like, and now she's like kind of like acting as if she's like, she never enjoyed being in that relationship. She's a full victim in everything that like has ever happened to her, and I just don't know.
And she also just never really took accountability for her parts of it. Like when it happened, she just got mad at everyone. She's like, why didn't you guys tell me? They're like, you literally wouldn't let us. Like, if she had been honest and been like, I was manipulated by this person and I feel so silly. Like, she never said any of those things, and it didn't feel authentic. Like, she doesn't let us all the way in. So it's just all the more crazy that she's screaming at everyone else for not being authentic.
Yeah, exactly. Not being honest, not being open.
It doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, sorry. I keep going off track. Listen.
Oh, is there a track?
even for those who aren't watching this season, those last 30 minutes I would recommend watching.
Yeah.
It is really good. Frustrating as all hell, but good. But basically, like, when Lala was saying how she's super upset, she's crying for days, and then Ariana was like, I also like I cry too, but I don't do it to Scheana. I do it alone. And she like breaks down in that moment. She's like, and I isolate and I do these things. And it's just like, why did we need to push this person to the brink?
Yeah.
Literally. To be like, oh, okay. Like, and she just, that was my point. It was that like, that was compelling television. Like, she doesn't have to be screaming in her face. No. Like, she could just be showing raw emotion.
Yeah, well, and it makes me think about, too, like, all the times on the after show, like, I feel like Brock especially has had, like, he's been working overtime, kind of, like, you know, putting out this campaign of, like, Tom Sandoval is the connector of the group. Tom Sandoval is the one that cares about people. Tom Sandoval is the person that reaches out to people. Ariana, she doesn't do that to you. She doesn't back you up. She's not here for you. She doesn't show up. She doesn't do whatever. And so for her to kind of like, you know, say in that moment, like, you know, the way that I manage things is I isolate, like I, you know, go into my little hole, and it's the classic case of the introvert versus extrovert, right? Tom Sandoval is very much extrovert over here. And Ariana is the introvert over there. And
they know that about her. Like, you know that about her.
They should, but
it's so crazy. Can we also just talk about the Scheana of it all for a moment and just like,
oh my god, the moment when Scheana walks over and we're like, oh, to Ariana? No, to Lala.
Walks over to Lala, who literally is so mad at her because she did not follow suit. And this is the crazy thing. It's like, you have fully just thrown your friendship of what, like 16 years down the toilet with Ariana for Lala, who will turn on you on a dime.
Literally. You guys weren't even friends 2 seasons ago. Come on.
Just because you like live next to each other now. Look what just happened here. Like, Lala fully called her out in the reunion. She tried to stomp off. And like, if it doesn't serve her anymore, she'll turn on you as well.
Yeah.
And you can feel Scheana's panic of like, what do I do?
Like, do you need me to say more stuff? Do you need me to say more stuff? Have I said enough stuff? Do you want me to say something else? Like, I don't know. Is there anything else I can do for you?
And it's like Ariana has never put. You know what's? Oh my god! You know what I just thought about from that? Yeah. Scheana keeps talking about this whole time about how she feels like she needs to not be friends with Ariana with Sandoval because of Ariana.
Yeah,
and that's like, for you. I can't hate him for you. And how that's like causing her so many problems. It's like, look at you now, literally changing your behavior to stay in Lala's good books.
Yeah, that's just it. And to do that, and also to have like put your relationship with this person that like calls you family on the line, right?
Over and over and over again, even while seeing some of the stuff she said about her this season.
I know. It's interesting. I guess in some ways, like if I think to like next season, like it will be kind of interesting to see what's happened with the Ariana Scheana friendship, like if they can find a way to move forward. But I have to hope that like this whole experience has given Scheana enough perspective to kind of be like, yeah, Tom Sandoval's not really my friend. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing last summer. That was a mistake.
At least she did do this. I think it also has just made it clear that like Ariana doesn't need this show anymore.
Yeah.
And the rest of them really do. And
yeah.
I don't know. And I feel like that's also a little bit of where a lot of their animosity towards her comes from.
I think so. But I hope that we still do get her back next season.
I do
I hope that if there is another season that we get her back.
I don't know. What was funny too is when Lisa literally was like, I don't know where we go from here. And it's like, you literally did this. Like you created, you made her watch this in real time. What did you think was going to happen?
That, and like you literally have been like working overtime, like getting, like setting up these scenes where Scheana like calls out Ariana and Lala calls out Ariana and like does whatever you can to protect your Tom brand. And you've done it at the expense of Ariana, and you know, here we are.
Now you have to, like, you made your bed and now you have to sit on it. Even, oh my gosh, Scheana's
now you have to hang out and listen to Tom Sandoval make all these lewd comments. Like, oh my god, the number of comments that he made this reunion were just ridiculous.
He's also just so awkward and weird. Like, when Anne came, he's so gross. When Anne came and he's like, oh, are you gonna clean up after?
Yeah, like, what the heck? What was that? I hate him. I'm sorry. I hate him.
He's so weird. Dude, even Schwartz was like, you know what, Ariana, after seeing it, I actually think that it was okay that you walked away.
Yeah.
Like,
good.
That thought just came out. It had nothing to do with what we were just talking about. But I was just like, literally like everyone except for Lala is like, oh yeah, I'm actually starting to change the way that I look at it.
Yeah, good. We love that. There's a little bit of hope in there for that.
There really is. I can't ever just like fully give up on Schwartz.
No, I know, me neither. Even the fact that did you see that he was kind of like calling out Lala for like her plea for authenticity this season?
Yeah, and that he worries about her breaking the fourth walls, kind of like messing with the integrity of the show.
Yeah, I kind of loved that. I was like, ooh, Schwartz, go get her.
And I do believe that Schwartz actually does love these people.
I do think so too, actually, yes. Many other problems with him, but that's at least one thing.
Also, him and Katie had a really sweet moment.
Oh my god, that was so cute. I can't.
I don't know if it's a toxic trait, but like I do like seeing them interact when they are in a good place. I think they have like a really cuteness to them that you're almost like, these two people would be better as friends. They should have just been friends.
Maybe, or at least they maybe should have gotten like divorced earlier or something.
Yeah.
Like before the whole Schwartz and Sandy's thing.
Yeah. Like there's just like such a lightness to their friendship when they, I don't know, are in a good place. Like they're just very themselves together.
I hope in an off-camera setting he has actually properly apologized to her for the whole Rachel thing.
Oh my gosh, I hope so.
I would like that. I would need to know that has happened.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Katie wears everything on her sleeve, so it's kind of going back to Lala. It's literally coming back and saying that Ariana and Katie aren't being themselves. Like, Katie has been hated by many people, myself included, for many seasons.
Oh, so many seasons.
I don't think anyone could call her
like,
fake.
even if you didn't like maybe you weren't like a love-hate kind of like Katie relationship, you were probably like at least like I'm kind of indifferent to this one. Like,
Yeah, like she's gotten a lot of heat, but the reason I bring that up is like if she is seeming to be okay with Schwartz again, then like I think they
yeah,
actually are,
that's
and
true.
he's done stuff
That's
to
true. Okay.
let allow him back in her life in some
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
I do have to apologize to you and also to our viewers that I am so loopy and incoherent today. I am sick. You could probably hear it in my
No.
voice.
You don't actually sound as sick as I thought you were going
Okay,
to. So I
good.
think that's good. You can rest up. Rest up tomorrow.
But yeah, what are your thoughts now? We've made it through the whole season. What else is there to say?
What else? Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Or is that a question for everybody?
For everyone. What do we do with our lives now?
literally, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, so I said at the beginning of this episode that like I walked away more frustrated with Lala than I did with Tom Sandoval. I do think ultimately Tom Sandoval is the enemy.
Oh, yes. And I'm so angry at them that they made us forget that because
exactly.
of Lala's actions.
Exactly. That's my problem with this whole thing. Yeah, and like I just, I genuinely don't think that we need him next season. Like I just don't think that he brings enough to the plate.
Yeah.
And I think that we could have still like a compelling season next year or whenever we would get it, without him involved or with him more minimally involved. Like I hope that production like a little bit learns their lesson from this year.
Oh my gosh, they should make him friend of. It would be almost,
so
I think
great.
that would actually be better
like
than
Kyle
just removing
Chan level
him.
Friend of.
Like these are the repercussions of your actions.
Exactly.
And then like the whole show is just about Ariana and Katie.
Yeah. I'm good with that.